So I'm going to assume your Steam Deck is now ready to go. You go through the logging in process, you find your latest games here, press the Steam button, go to settings. Okay, there's an update, so I'm going to apply it and come back. Alright, so the update is done. The first thing that I would say that you should do, developer mode on, and after developer mode is on, don't worry, this is just to unlock some extra settings. Scroll all the way down to developer and enable Wi-Fi power management. Has disabling power management may increase connection reliability on 5 GHz networks, so you want to disable this, and it will ask you to restart, so be right back. Okay, so after the restart, you'll see enable Wi-Fi power management is disabled. So what's next? Hold the power button. This menu will show up, choose shut down, and wait for it to completely shut down. So once it's completely shut down, go up to your Steam Deck, hold the plus button. So hold it, do not let go of the plus button. And while you hold the plus button, press the power button. So you go into the BIOS. Don't worry. And now using your controls, go to Setup Utility, go to Advanced, and the frame buffer size, make sure by default it will be at 1 GB, but put it on 4 GB, excepting if you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2. That one has a bug if you have this to 4 GB, so this will help in a lot of games. So once you choose that, hit this button at the left, which would be like the select key, exit saving changes, yes. And now you have 4 gigs of VRAM from the 16 GB of system RAM. You take 4 for the video memory. This helps in a lot of games. What's next is setting a sudo password, so an admin password for Linux. So press the Steam key again, go to power, switch to desktop. We're going to desktop for the first time, so let it do its thing. Alright, so we're in the desktop now. It'll give you the welcome to KDE Plasma. Ignore this completely if you want to. The trackpad will act as your mouse and is pretty comfortable, at least in my opinion. The triggers are the right mouse button and the left mouse button. So right trigger will be the mouse button, so skip. So to set the password, this will be helpful in a moment. Go to the start menu, go into settings, system settings. Now that we're here, we go to users, and you have Steam Deck user, username deck, administrator, email address, choose change password. And now I'm going to put a password. So to bring up the keyboard, hold the Steam key and X, press X, and you get your cool little keyboard. And let's set a password. Once you're done, select set password. And now you have a sudo password. Now we're going to install 2 very useful utilities. So go to your browser. In this case, we can install Firefox and you can install Chrome from the Discover store. Personally, just Firefox because it's what we have at hand. So it's going to install it automatically. Now that you're in your browser, bring up again with Steam and the X key, the keyboard, and type CryoUtilities. This is for the Steam Deck to be the best it can be, at least in my opinion, when it comes to performance. Once in GitHub, scroll down, and where it says installed, it says simple, so we're going for the simple one. So right click on it, hit what it says save link as. In this case, we're going to put it into the desktop, so desktop. Let's remove the download part. It's going to be .desktop. So save. It downloaded the file. Alright, so for some reason it doesn't show in my actual desktop, but in the folder it does. Don't worry, maybe a me issue. Go to desktop, double click on install CryoUtilities, execute. You're gonna hit continue. And this will show up, don't worry, it's doing its thing, just let it run. It says CryoUtility has completed, hit OK. And now you have on your desktop, I don't know why mine doesn't show up, CryoUtilities. So this will show up right in your desktop. Open it, and now you accept these terms, yes. And now put the password that we set up a few moments ago. Hit on submit. And you have lots of things over here. First of all, if you go to VRAM, it says 4 gigabytes. So that's what we did already. And Red Dead 2 may experience a greater performance. So for Red Dead 2, change it to 1 gigabyte. So in home, you can go back to the stock settings or use the recommended preset. So we're going to use recommended. And it's going to do basically what we need to get more consistent performance. It's not going to increase your frame rate, but your consistency is going to be better. Okay, so the recommended settings were applied, hit OK. And you can also manually change things. The swap file is at 16 gigabytes. I have a 512 gigabytes SSD on this one, but if you have the 64 gigabyte Steam Deck, you might want to resize this to something smaller. So the default is 1 gigabyte. You maybe want to put it at 6, maybe, or 32 if you want to. So in this case, we're going to keep it at the recommended 16, but since I have space, I could put 32 if I wanted to. That's the only thing. Then when it comes to memory, huge pages is on, good. Also share memory in THP as well. If you want an explanation to all this, I left the official video from CryoUtilities in the description and the pinned comment. The person that actually did this application explains everything in great detail, so thanks to him for making this. It's very helpful. Now we're going to download Decky. So go here and type Decky Loader. That's the one that we want. And you're going to get either into GitHub or Decky XYZ. I'm going for GitHub because I'm used to it at this point. Scroll down. Okay, it says features, and here is the installation. So what we're going to do actually is do like in CryoUtilities, right click on installer file, save link as, and you're going to have this. Well, what we gotta do is remove the .download part. So select it, open your keyboard, backspace, and it's going to stay like this. So make sure it says this and it's saved into the desktop. Hit save, it's downloaded. All right, it's into the desktop now, as you can see here from Decky installer. So double click on it, hit continue. And once again, it's going to ask you for the password that we set at the beginning. All right, so once you do so, this will show up, choose release, hit OK. If you want to play with the experimental stuff, just select the other one, hit OK now, it's finished. And since we're finished, we can now delete the CryoUtilities desktop because we already installed it. We can remove Decky installer as well. And now it's time to reboot your Steam Deck once again, so one sec. Alright, so we rebooted the system, we're now back in gaming mode. Hit the 3 dots button, the one that is behind my head. So hit it, it will open this classic menu. And you'll find that now Decky is installed. If it isn't, restart your Steam Deck once again. Maybe there was something missing. And in the configuration, you can update it. But at this point, we have everything updated, so it's fine. We have no plugins. So now I'm going to recommend you plugins. So go to the small store thing, and let me tell you which ones I recommend. All right, so the Decky plugins that I recommend that are there: Animation Changer, AutoFlatpaks, CSS Loader, EmuDecky, IsThereAnyDeal for Deck, JunkStore, MagicBlack for OLED Steam Deck users, MagicPod for people that have Airpods, PowerTools, ProtonDB Badges, SteamGridDB, Storage Cleaner, TabMaster, vibrantDeck, and Wine Cellar. So I'm going to go through all of them so you understand what we're talking about. So first of all, Animation Changer. This is to change the animation when you boot up your Steam Deck or suspend it. So in this case, I have none of them, but you can shuffle between them. If you go to Manage Animations, you can browse animations made by the community. So just go into, I don't know, the most popular. In this case, we got PlayStation 2. You can preview the animation. So once you download it, it says downloaded, go back. And there's also animations for when you put the deck to sleep, like an Alt CRT of suspend animation. That is like when you turn off an old TV. So you download it. And once you do so, go back, go to Decky, and here animation changes for boot PlayStation 2, for suspend, Alt CRT of suspend, and all that good stuff. Once you do this, it should change. So once you boot up your Steam Deck, you have your PlayStation 2 stuff. And when you press the button to put it to sleep, it will do the Alt CRT of suspend. Just some good stuff there. Now you can see the animation, the PlayStation 2 one that we set up. If it's too long, you can also skip it if you want to by pressing the A key if everything loaded properly. But it's pretty funny, a bit of customization. AutoFlatpaks is actually to not go into desktop mode, to update your Linux Flatpaks. So we hit checking for updates, there's no updates, but I recommend setting the update interval to probably 7 days. I mean, you don't need to update this all the time, but if you have something like, I don't know, emulators installed, some other program, you probably just want to go here, hit check for updates. If there's any, you download them. And you don't need to go into desktop mode to do this, so that's awesome. Check on boot, I would recommend doing this. Then we got CSS Loader. And this is for themes, if you want to customize your Steam Deck gaming mode. So go into the download button, and all the themes here, we are going to choose most downloaded. So you got rounded edges, clean game view, we got switch like home. So what we're going to choose is the switch like home, just to show you that it can be very different. Okay, so it's installed. Once that is installed, go back, hit the 3 dots, and you can choose right there many profiles. In this case, we're going to enable the switch like home, and you can disable the friends thing if you want to. So once that's enabled, look, we got a switch-like menu. So that's pretty cool in my opinion. And you can select how much roundiness has in pixels. You can do square as well. You can hide the edges. You can basically redo that. And now the edges are rounded, so it looks more modern, to say it in some way. So that's why I recommend CSS Loader. Pretty cool, very customizable stuff. Make it your own, basically. Then on the EmuDecky one, this is if you have the EmuDecky installed. So you have all these options if you want to enable them from here. But again, you need to have EmuDecky installed. Then, is there any deal for deck? Well, first of all, choose your country. Let's pretend, well, let's say we're in Uruguay, because that's my country. And, well, font size, padding button, this is because there will be something in the store button. So when you go into the store, you can now see the lowest price of a game and the history of the pricing. So I don't know, Baldur's Gate 3, view page, and now at the bottom of the page, it'll say where's the cheapest. Right now, the best price is on Steam at $47.99. But if you right trigger onto that small text, it'll take you to this page, and in this page it tells you the prices. It's also on GOG at the same price as Steam, and you can see the history of the price of the game and all that good stuff. So you can see all those trends if you're interested, but it's the way to get the cheapest games. Right now we're on the Steam summer sale, so it's probably the best pricing on Steam. So that's pretty cool in my opinion. One very important thing, because you want to probably have the lowest price when buying games. Then we got the JunkStore. Yeah, great name. What you do here basically is install other stores. So if we install the dependencies, let's let that install. You can install titles from GOG or the Epic Game Store. At least that's the big thing in my opinion. So once that's installed, the dependencies go back and you have now custom stores and says games. So hit on games and you'll see nothing because you're not logged in. So let's log into our Epic Game Store. So log in. And basically we're going to have to log into our Epic Game Store. I'm going to log in, so one sec. Before games show up, you need to hit this small button, refresh games list, and then hit square to toggle installed. So toggle installed, I don't know sometimes why, but it doesn't refresh my games, and it has everything I have on the Epic Game Store. Instead of Alan Wake 2, let's install a smaller game as an example. So we hit install game. It's going to take a few seconds. It's a 2 GB game, so let's wait it out. If you get out of this menu, just go back, hit install game again, and the game should, I don't know, if you quit at 50%, it'll continue installing. So you won't lose your installation progress, which is good. All right, so it finished the installation process. Perfect. So you have now play game. You can reset the launch options, whatever. All good things. And you can change the Proton configuration if you want to. But now we go back, all the way back, and now if you check on the Steam button, if you go to library, and you go to the right to non-Steam, you have the game. So Alan Wake, American Nightmare, that I have from the Epic Game Store because I think it was given away for free. And here you have the launch options by themselves, compatibility. We're using Proton 9, you can change it. So that's one example of a game that you probably have on the Epic Game Store, and you just open the JunkStore and you don't have to go into desktop mode and do any weird workarounds. And if you go into the cog at the top right corner, you can choose where the game needs to be installed, in the microSD card or the SSD, if you want to use offline mode, all that good stuff. The next one, MagicBlack. This is for Steam OLED users. LCD users, this doesn't apply, so ignore it. MagicBlack, overlay black background. So if you press the 3 dots plus the select button, it'll put a black screen on top of everything. But the Steam Deck is still woken up. Why would you want to do this? Well, because you cannot put the deck to sleep and have something download in the background. And you probably don't want your OLED screen to be displaying the same image across the board. So as you can see, it just puts a black screen. And why am I talking about the Steam Deck OLED instead of the normal Steam Deck? Well, the normal Steam Deck has an LCD screen. So if it's a completely black screen, the screen is still on, but on the OLED, the pixels turn off when there is a black color. That's why this will also save you some battery while you're downloading stuff, but it's just to protect the screen. I wish Valve added something like this manually, so I hit the 3 dots at the select button and I'm back. So you can toggle it, but the Steam Deck is still awake. This is for the OLED users to protect the screen, basically. So that's super useful. Then MagicPods, if you have Airpods, you can connect them here and have, well, you can put a hotkey for noise cancellation, for standby mode, to mute the microphone, all that good stuff. And you can see the battery life of them. So that's a great option to have if you have AirPods and you want to use them on your Steam Deck with all the features. Then we got PowerTools. PowerTools is more of an advanced thing. This is for controlling things like how many CPU threads are on, SMT enable or disable, the frequency. There's a lot of stuff here that I'm not going to talk about because most people are probably not interested. But you can see the max capacity of your battery, how the battery charges. So the charge limit, if you want to maximize, the life of the battery, you can put it at 80%. So the deck will only charge up to 80% to protect the battery for a longer time. So if you want to do all that stuff, there's a lot of options here. This is more for power users, in my opinion, so it's nice to have, but most people are probably not going to use it. And the thing about disabling cores, maybe it's for a specific game. So you can use profiles for different games on PowerTools. Then we got ProtonDB Badges. So you can change the size and all that. In this case, let's put it on regular size at the top left position. So what is ProtonDB? Well, ProtonDB is a web page where people playing on Linux tell you how well a game or how bad it works on Linux. So as you can see now at the top left corner, I have a thing that says silver. Well, that is the compatibility of the game on Linux. So if you hit that button, you'll open ProtonDB. You can use your fingers for this. But you can check Steam Deck, PC, Chrome OS, all that good stuff. And people will tell you, hey, I traded on the Steam Deck, books back to OLED when using in handheld. Some people say it runs great on deck but requires some setup effort. They give you the instructions. So as an example, a game that doesn't work is Call of Duty, Black Ops, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2019. It says borked, so it's probably not going to work properly. And well, it says uses anti-cheat, so you cannot play it. So it technically boots, but the anti-cheat kicks you out. I think it's great because some games sometimes require a bit of setup to work properly, so I think it's nice to have it at the top left. And it's easy access for compatibility of games on your Steam Deck. Then we got SteamGridDB. So SteamGridDB is to change the artwork on your games. So you can change the size of things. I'm not going to touch on this. But basically what you add, I don't know, you have a non-Steam game or maybe a game that doesn't have good cover art. You press the options menu. So it's basically the start button. You usually have to press it once, go back and redo it. And you get this new option called change artwork. And you can change the artwork of the game for your Steam library. So for example, I don't know, you have an emulator, but it has no image because it's a non-Steam game. You can change that. In this case, I don't know. I want this one. Then on the white capsule, which is the one that you see at the beginning of your Steam library, I want just a logo for some reason. Hero is when you open the game to play it. There's going to be a big banner at the top. I'm going to use, I don't know, this one. Then in logo, this is the logo that shows up at the top over the play button. So let me use this one for no reason. And then on icon, this one is not super important in my opinion. This is when you are in desktop mode, as an example. And this one requires you to restart Steam sometimes. And there you see, I chose this, this, and this. And now what I chose is basically there. I chose horribly in this case, but it was just an example. But if you have, I don't know, RPCS3 installed, it doesn't have any cover art, you can now add it, and they are made by the community. You can also use the official capsules. Maybe you have I don't know, an Epic Games Store game. This is perfect. And maybe there's an obscure game that you're playing that doesn't show the artwork. Well, pretty simple. Just hit the X key and you can search for a game. Let's pretend this is Forza Horizon 1 for some reason. Well, people actually made art for the cover of the game. Maybe, I don't know, you have Forza Horizon 1 emulated and you want art for your Steam Deck for when you open that menu. You can do that just fine. In this case, I think, yeah, people made art for it. So, for example, if you have emulated Forza Horizon 1, you can add this capsule art. In this case, I applied it to Forza Horizon 4, but if you go to the library, you'll see that Forza Horizon 4 has a Forza Horizon cover art. And there's some games here like Fractured Space or The Public Tales of For Honor that don't have the proper Steam Deck art. Well, options, change artwork. And again, the community made some cool stuff, so you add it, and now they will look good on the Steam Deck's library. So it looks more consistent, and if you don't like the cover art, you can change it to whatever you want. Pretty useful feature. I love this, especially for emulators and non-Steam games. Storage cleaner. This one, especially for the 64GB audience, I think this is absolutely necessary. So if you're playing a game or something, there will be a shader cache being made while you play. Once there's some also preloaded by Valve when you install a game, there's also compatibility data. In this case, since this Steam Deck is empty, nothing will be here. But if, for example, you delete a game and there's some leftover files, you can delete them from here. If there's something that you're not using, just clear it and you'll be good to go. And you can save a lot of space. Some games have very big shader caches that go into gigabytes of size. I don't remember a specific one, but this one, in my opinion, especially if you have very little storage, it's the saving grace of storage. So please download this one as well. TabMaster is more of a it's more of a thing that I like having because I like the design being something comfortable. If you see library, we have ProtonDBeck, all games installed, collections, non-Steam, soundtracks. But let's imagine that I don't care about the soundtracks tab. Well, very simple. You go into TabMaster and you'll see your tabs over here. And I don't want to have soundtracks, so we hide it. So now this is hidden. And maybe you want to add a tab. Well, you can put some logic into it. So for example, you want to add something for some reason, I don't know, certain specific collection, you can make it here. Deck compatibility, maybe you want to see all the unsupported Steam games in a tab. Well, now we got it. But as you can see, we got ProtonDBeck, all games installed, collections, no Steam, and unsupported. So these are the unsupported games, but the soundtrack one is no longer there. So personally, what I remove is soundtracks and collections, but if you want to get them back, again, just go into TabMaster, and the hidden ones, you select show, and they'll be back where they should be. Another one that right now is not that useful in my opinion is vibrantDeck. This is to control the vibrancy of your display. In this case, you're not going to see any difference because I'm using a capture card to show you this, but now that there's a system setting for this, I don't think is super important, honestly. But if you hit settings and go to display and you go to adjust display colors, you got the same thing, vibrancy and color temperature. So you can see this as an example instead of having a plugin. I think it's better to use that. But if you want to have it in game, there you go, easy to access. And finally, wine cellar. So what is wine cellar? Okay, wine is basically what we use to use Windows applications on Linux. So here you can download custom Proton versions, which this is to make games work, Windows games work on Linux. So you can do this without going into desktop mode, which I think is super comfortable. So I don't know, I want the latest GE Proton. Instead of going to the desktop mode, downloading the ProtonDB, the Proton installer, the GE Proton installers, I can do this just from gaming mode. So I don't know, a specific game needs Proton 97 GE. So you go into Power, restart Steam, and this is going to be quick. Just close and open Steam to do its thing. So now that we restarted the Steam application, you can go into any game, go into the small cog, properties, compatibility, and the GE Proton that we downloaded is here, and you don't even need to touch desktop mode for testing other Proton versions. And if you go back to wine cellar, you can delete the Proton GE you installed. You can install lots of Boxtron and Luxorpedia. That this is more for older games, if I remember correctly. I think I used it for Tomb Raider actually. So yeah, you got basically as much Proton as you want in here. Very old versions as well. So I think this is super useful. Alright, so now your Steam Deck is very customizable when it comes to the visuals and user experience. Also, you can get the best performance due to CryoUtilities, the 4 GB of VRAM frame buffer, and you know now a lot of things to make your Steam Deck basically your own. You can do whatever you want with it. Well, personally, I really love this menu for the games. You can disable it, of course, and customize it. But that's it for now. I hope it was helpful, especially for the new Steam users. Long live the Steam Deck, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content.